Hi guys, welcome back to our channel Cozy Little Desk, and this is Sauj. Today we are going to be seeing how to paint these three cute birdies. So these are the colors that I use. This is from my swatch: Rose Madder, Vermilion Hue, Permanent Yellow Deep, Yellow Ochre, Olive Green obviously, Burnt Sienna, and Composed Blue, Burnt Umber, Sepia, Grey of Grey, and Paints Grey. First I start with drawing a half U, which looks something like this. Yes, I had to draw a couple of times to get it right. And then I joined both the corners. I kept drawing till I got the desired shape. It can be a small lump also, because birds are cute and round. As long as it's round, I think it's fine. And here's the beak and eyes. And for the second bird, now I wanted this bird to look straight directly into the camera, or into how we see it. So I first had to draw the branch also. For this second bird, I just drew two lumps like that, like 8 or something like that. And the third bird, I just wanted to draw a mirror image of the first bird that I drew. So this is it. I had to just add in the detailing. I drew different birds and different types of tails that I wanted to explore. So this is a branch that they are standing. Obviously. It's so much fun to paint these cute birds. So I changed till I was not satisfied with that very much, but I ended up I had to erase and paint again, draw again and again, and I got this. So before painting, I had to erase the entire thing. We only need the guiding lines and not the entire sketch as it is. So we start with some wet on wet technique, and for that I'm using some water. This is the smallest size brush I have, and I dipped it in water. And first we are going to do the body. So I add water in my sheet like that. Yeah, I cut my hand. I don't know how that happened, but that's the only band-aid I had. So I'm adding gray of gray from the bottom towards the up, towards the stomach, and I'm like slightly dragging it in the upward motion like that. And I did the same thing for the robin bird also, but I added water, a lot of water. I added Gray's gray, and this time I just wanted to do a little bit of gray, not as dark as the previous one. And for the orange, I added vermilion hue, and I mixed it with yellow ochre to not have this bright orange. So that gives a little bit of dull but still beautiful orange. And I simply made sure that the water did the work. I did not want to paint everything in detail, so I just kept dots around and I let it dry. So this is how it looked. And while this was drying, I also thought, why not go ahead with the middle bird. And for the middle bird, I just wanted to wet the entire bird first. It's funny when I say it like that. And this was permanent yellow and yellow ochre. I mean, first was yellow ochre and permanent yellow, and I added in the bottom the same technique. It's wet on wet. In most paintings, people will tell you to use to not have this much variety of colors, but I think this is easy. It just gets the job done, and I really enjoy it. So I added composed blue, and I mixed it with gray of gray to dull down the color a little bit. And that's me just doing the same thing. I love wet on wet because we want the birds to look a little bit fluffy and a little bit puffy. So that's why we are doing the wet on wet technique for these birds. And we're not aiming for realistic painting here. We're just aiming for something very cute, something that we can do when we are stressed, something that will cheer us up once it's done. And we're definitely not aiming for realism here. So I also wanted to add a little bit of more texture and color over here, because after adding the blue I thought it started looking a little bit dull. So since the first bird it got dried, I again added water on the head and on the feather like that. And I used burnt sienna. I wanted to give one layer of burnt sienna first before adding the actual color. And we are going to let it dry. Watercolors are always fun because you're always just going with the flow of water and what happens to the pigment. I'm taking burnt sienna again and doing the same for the robin. I know it looks just like a lump, but we have to trust the process. So by the time this dries, I took a little bit of composed blue, and I wanted to show the feathers on either sides of the bird. And I went ahead and I just darkened on places where I thought a bright color would look good. And I did my second layer of composed blue on the middle bird. You don't have to use the same colors as I'm using. You can use colors of your choice, like always. So this is sepia, and I started using sepia on top of the first bird. It was a little bit wet, but not as wet as it was before. And I just wanted to add a little bit strokes over here to show the variations in the feathers. And in the head, obviously, there's no variation, so I thought that looked good. And the same thing I did with the robin also. I just made sure that there was a layer of sepia on the head, and I got it a little bit. I made sure it was lighter towards the down, the end of the feathers, the wings. And then I took some Payne's grey. I usually don't use black, but instead I prefer Payne's grey because it adds a huge amount of saturation as compared to black. So that's me doing the feathers. I wish the feathers were really focused instead of my hands like these, but yes, I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. So that's the feathers for the bird. See, now it's all coming together. We just have to trust the process. So again, this is sepia, and I wanted to draw some lines for the feathers to show some variations. That is the wing, and it is not attached to the body. I mean, it is attached to the body, but not like the head. So I drew some lines, and then I just glazed it with water before it even got dried up. So yes, I know I made a tiny bit of mess over there, but that's okay. That's part and parcel of watercolors. I wanted to show some depth, so I took Payne's grey and I outlined on the feathers on the tail. For robin, I don't know why, but I thought it would be cool to have the tail hanging down, the tail to go beneath, to go down like that. And this is only sepia, again the wet on wet technique. And this was way too I added a lot of paint, so that's me picking up some paint. And then I realized that robin's tails look like that, and they're not very flat. So they have these round feathers that comes in the tails. It's very pretty. So yes, then again I took some orange and I added some burnt sienna to it. For the branch, I wanted to do the branch before I did the legs of these birds. So here I'm not doing a wet on wet technique, I just went ahead with the color, and as it was wet I added a little bit of burnt umber, and I did wet on wet with that. I just let the water take the paint wherever it wanted to take, and I feel there is beauty in letting the paint be as it is. Like, let the water do its thing. That's watercolors. Then I also added the paint, the eyes, using Payne's grey. See, this is not black, this is Payne's grey. I like Payne's grey because it gives a depth that black, I don't know, watercolor black does not give. So this bird is the cutest bird. Only after adding eyes, I think we are able to see what it is. And we need to add the beak also. I'm again using Payne's grey, and I'm taking a lot of paint and a little bit of water. And the robins, oh, I think I made a mistake. I made a mistake over here by making it too long. I tried picking out the color, but since it's a very dark shade and I had a lot of paint than water, I was not able to pick up the color from the beak. So instead what I would do is that I would add white gouache on the beak. But yes, let's go ahead and finish the beak of this bird. I'm using vermilion hue again without mixing it with any color, using the color as it is. So that's me adding white gouache, and I waited for the beak to dry because I didn't want to add white gouache and spread the Payne's grey and make it messy over there. So as it got dried, I added white gouache. Let's wait till it dries before we repaint the beak. And I used burnt sienna for the feet. So initially I had a different sketch, but as I started painting I realized I needed it to be a little bit slanted. And I forgot adding tails for this cutie. This is such a dangerous thing to do, but please don't do it. So I had to erase the lines, the lines that I drew before. Here we have fixed the beak of robin. See, now it looks more cute. I took a little bit of burnt umber, and I added for the tail of robin to give it a little bit of texture. And I wanted something was wrong with the head, so I did a little bit of I added paint again on the head. I added depth, and I just added colors wherever it was required. Since it was not popping very much, I did not want it to pop also, because if it pops and the blue bird pops, the first bird will look a little bit dull. So I wanted to make sure that it popped a little, but not too much. I did not want it to overshadow the first bird because that's the only color for the first bird. Now that it was done, it was time for me to draw some leaves. So I took the same brown and I burnt umber and I extended a little bit, a tiny branch. I did not want to do branch anywhere else because it will not be visually appealing. I know, that's where I take olive green. And then I drew some leaves around. I cannot help with the dog barking. So that's another 2 cute leaves. See, now it looks complete. That pause was me thinking where to add the leaves and how many leaves to add. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you enjoyed these 3 cute birdies. And let's see you in the next video. Let me know in the comments if you want some other tutorials. I can make it for you. Bye.